thought Isabel's presentation was fascinating, um, and it did very much chime with what I said with regard to, I think, reaching out for or trying to cling on to stability is not going to be helpful. It's got to be about building your own toolkit in terms of resilience and managing your own internal processes ultimately as individuals. And then obviously there's an organizational extension of that as well, which is really fascinating. But so much that we've heard today really reinforces the fact that we're in a world that's evolving so rapidly, genuinely. And I think we all feel this acceleration that it's tough. It's really tough. But I was massively heartened to hear the Oxford students talking so positively and constructively about their um, ambitions and viewpoints. I thought that was absolutely great. So those are probably the main things I took away. Jessica, I thought your presentation was great as well. Um, but I must say, I really, really struggle with the sheer number of standards and the proliferation of everything related to that. And I understand where it's come from, but I just can't. I really struggle to see how it gets resolved in a way that becomes that removes friction in markets. A lot of the work I'm doing at the minute is about removing friction to actually get things happening, and obviously get them happening in a way that's not going contrary to all of those positive sustainability goals we have. But that for me is still an unresolved kind of
Thank you,
dilemma, if
Mark.
you like.
Jessica, over to you, and then we'll go to Rodrigo.
Yeah, and quickly just to answer Mark's question, I guess that's one of the key challenges of the time, right? And kind of from my perspective, one way that we can look to overcome that challenge is by specific standards being mandated in regulations. So many of the standards that exist today are voluntary. Okay, some of them are seen as more best practice or yeah, kind of best ways of doing things, but unless policy is mandating specific use of various ISO or European standards, then again it's up to industry to kind of to make the choice on which standards they want to use, because others will then follow. So yeah, I think just from my reflections for today's session, again, just like thanks to everyone. Of course, I thought Isabel's was very interesting. Um, but maybe just a different point. I think what I really liked about Mark's presentation, it gave me a bit of positivity and excitement to see the progress that's being made when it comes to primary materials and the carbon intensity of production. To see some of the big miners actually able to get their own operations down to some of the examples around secondary materials was great, and I think that's a really positive thing. So thanks for sharing that data and insight.
Thanks, Jessica. Rodrigo, how about yourself? And then let's head to Oxford.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, Isabel's presentation really resounded on me in regards with mind and heart. And from that, I believe that each one of us that we are here took something. I mean, there is a passion, and I will start with the students from Oxford that they started. But I think it was Emily that said, I am passionate about this, and I want to do a career on this. And I believe that each one of us, either from the sustainability perspective, from the standards perspective, and each one of us, and in education, Sean's presentation was great on that. I think that that is something that connect us and move us to do the best in our respective fields.
Great, thank you, Rodrigo. Over to Oxford.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for organizing this talk, because I think, I've already talked a bit about how we're quite interdisciplinary, but it is a really good idea to have such different people and perspectives, ages and you know, all engaging together. We found the talks very interesting. And especially I think Isabella's talk was very thought-provoking. We're all quite captivated by that at one point. Because it really speaks about something that is relevant to everybody. Yeah.
Anything else from the rest of you? Emily speaking for all of you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all okay. Sean, do you want to come in on this? Oh, sorry, on you go on.
I'd just like to say, like, thank you for giving us like this platform, to kind of share our opinions on, because I think so often we go to conferences and we obviously aren't the most educated in the room. We often just sitting there and just being appreciative to like be in that space. But the fact that we can actually like talk and share our opinions is, it means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. I think that's a lot of the point of running this conference is often, I think so the secret is every single one of us, with one or two minor exceptions, has imposter syndrome. Every single person, every single one of us thinks, oh, hang on a second, why am I here? Should I be here? What have I got to contribute? And actually what you very quickly realize is every single person has something really quite remarkable to contribute to the discussion, even if it's a case where you say something that makes somebody else think about whatever the challenge is in a different way. And I think having people who are coming at a question or a conversation from a different angle is absolutely vital with regards to a lot of what we're trying to do in this space. But Sean, I don't know if you've got any further thoughts.
Yeah, look, I think I was late to the party just because of morning commitments here in Vancouver, so I missed about half the session, unfortunately. But I think the multiple perspectives and the diverse perspectives are really interesting. And often when we go to a interdisciplinary geoscience conference, it means that geochemists are willing to talk to geophysicists and geologists. And really here we get into true, cross-disciplinary discussions, which I think, end up benefiting everyone. And we really are an increasingly specialized and siloed world. And the ability to hear different perspectives, I think, is really important. And particularly, and I'll come back to the AI tools now, hearing Isabel talk about something that I knew nothing about means I can now go off and interact with Claude after this and ask it some questions to help me get deeper into some of the things that she was speaking about. So it's a really valuable platform to have all those people come together. And I think the ability to democratize information is really accelerating at a massive rate. And it's, I think hugely encouraging in many ways, but we still clearly have lots and lots of challenges left in front of us. So, and I think that human part of it is, I think more important than ever, even with the rise of our robot overlords.
So with that, from one human to other humans, thank you so much for the first session of 6 for this year's Responsible Raw Materials Conference. Please join me in saying a massive thank you to our wonderful speakers and panelists for today's session. Thank you, absolutely brilliant. So in an attempted summary, we heard about things like the death of truth, which I think I am still recovering from. I'm going to have to go back and watch that presentation again because there were so many triggering phrases within it. It was absolutely brilliant. And I really love working with people who come from very different backgrounds because my mind is always blown. And I think that's really awesome. Let's just dive into that a lot more. So whilst on one hand, you've got the death of truth, we also have the rise of heart and humanity. And surely that's a good thing. Actually, I think kind of really being able to face up to our feelings, etc., is a really good thing. But with that, we need really good quality data. And thank you, Mark, for really putting that on the table with some fascinating graphs, etc., and plots there. But as Rodrigo was mentioning, actually, we need a lot of collaboration and seeing the world through different people's eyes. So be it the government, Indigenous people, mining companies, etc. Actually, it's only by having that empathy for one another and thinking, well, yeah, you might be in the middle of a city, you still need to think about different people, etc. with regards to that, which was absolutely brilliant. And yes, there's a nightmare of standards, but we have evolved digital tools, etc., that can help us trust that where the information comes from. And I think trust, of course, is different to truth as well, leaning into what Isabel was saying. And I think the final thing really for me to take away from this is it's okay to change and evolve our minds. And in fact, it's a good thing as a human being to go, I hadn't thought about it that way before. Okay, I might change my mind now. But again, coming back to the depth of truth, we need to be really aware of why somebody might be trying to change our minds. And I think we were given a toolbox earlier on today of how people do try to manipulate us, especially if we're someone as simple as a geoscientist who basically has a degree in colouring in. Let's face it, we lick rocks and we colour in. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all great. So with that, a massive thank you to everyone for today's first session. Now, tomorrow morning, we're going to be back here bright and early, way too early for the likes of Sean and Rodrigo. And I know that there are some of you who've dialed in online from the likes of Peru and Colombia in different parts of North and Central America. Absolutely brilliant to see you. My apologies that it's a horrible time for you tomorrow morning. It's at 8 a.m. UK time, which is good enough for the Australians who weren't here, for example, just now. Similarly, anybody who's based in Southeast Asia, India, etc., we know that you weren't here for this afternoon session. But tomorrow morning, we're going to kick off with a fantastic environmental engineer, Jo Weston, who now works for Worley, and she's running a series of roundtables around the world looking at why we're so bad at capital projects. Absolutely brilliant. So I really recommend you dial into Jo's presentation just after 8 tomorrow morning UK time. We're then going to hop over to Deanne in Indonesia to hear about some of the research that she's up to, and Dennis in the Philippines, who's going to talk about biomine, so another research project with regards to looking at mine legacies. And we've got Christopher Van Dome, who is from Chatham House, and they're in the process at the moment of really leaning into the world of critical minerals. So he's going to come at things from a slightly different direction. We've got Edith from the University of Leicester, who's going to be talking about some of her PhD research involving navigating ecosystem service tools for mining land use decisions. Then over to Pat Bradshaw, who's an expert in project risk management. And finally, we're going to finish off with Maria Alban from the Inter-American Institute on Justice and Sustainability, as well as Women in Mining Ecuador. So we've got a really exciting lineup for you tomorrow morning. As always, it is free to come and join us. If you can't join us, then the presentations will all be online. The second thing just to mention with regards to tomorrow is at lunchtime, UK time, we're going to be doing the rewatch of the 100 Perceptions documentary. So please feel free to come along and speak and engage with not only the producer and the filmmakers, but also the academic and the researchers who had to get their head around that actually not all of their scientific facts were interesting. So they didn't make the cut in terms of the documentary. So how do you make something that is engaging to the general public, not just people who seem to like rocks, etc. So come along to that at lunchtime. And then we've got our third session in the afternoon that kicks off at 3 o'clock. So with that, a massive, massive thank you to Aileen and Miranda and the rest of the team behind the scenes. One session down, 5.5 sessions still to go. We're on our way. Thank you very much, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.